Hey there, guys. I can't keep a straight face. We're back with another week of World War II. We're on a week 19, January 5th, 1940. 1 year, technically done. We're done with 1939. The Finns strike again, and Japan strikes back. Now I know I look a little different. I shaved. I know, it looks terrible, and also, this is very uncomfortable. I wanted to be like indie. I've tried. I don't really have a diverse wardrobe, so I just had is the black on white. Not as fancy as him. Um, this is lasting one episode because if I sit like any other way, I feel like I might rip the vest. The last time I wore this stuff, I was like probably 20 to 30 pounds lighter. Oh, yeah. We're struggling here. Also, I just hate this part. I don't like ties. They're not comfy. I think we should just do away with them. Anyways, before we dive into this video here, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. We'd love to join the Discord. Follow me over at Twitch, and please do go check out the gaming channels here on YouTube. Now, also, though, if this video does really well in the analytics, because of this, I will wear it more because I am a slut for views. Sort of. Now, also I should say, this is the start of 8 days of World War II reactions. The Indies World War II series. We tried it out with Warhammer. I think the Warhammer turned out meh. I was kind of expecting it to do better, but also I kind of shot myself in the foot by not doing it before the release of Space Marine 2. I should have probably would have been better to test out the 8 days of Warhammer before the release of a new video game. I'm just stupid. But let's do 8 days of World War II and see how that differs. I'm gonna stop yapping so that I can react to this video and then fucking get back to my normal regular clothing for the next reactions. Let's dive in.
Secret treaty, huh?
Keep me posted. January 5th, 1940. There are two major invasions in progress this week, though half a world apart, and the responses just now are straightforward. If you can't beat them, join them.
I feel like I look crooked, and I swear this isn't. I think I just sit crooked, or my chair is crooked. I don't think, this shouldn't be crooked. I think I have scoliosis. That's the one where, yeah, you... Anyways.
But if you can beat them, beat them.
Can't beat them. Beat them. I don't think it works like that, but okay.
I'm Indy Nidell. This is World War II. Last
Yay.
week, the Finns had some more big success fighting off the Soviet invasion, but a counterattack of their own was a failure. Hitler and Stalin sent each other Christmas greetings.
Do you think Hitler and Stalin kissed? I think they did.
Policy reversal that many take serious issue with, including Chiang Kai-shek. Here's what followed. 10,000 Japanese launch a counterattack in China's Shaanxi province, trying to relieve the nearly surrounded 36th Division. They are driven off by the end of the week. In the Guangzhou region of southern China, Chinese forces take Longshan II, Guandu IV, and Qingtang V. Still,
I do like, again, this was a thing that I loved about the World War I series, is that they, at least at the very beginning here, they do focus a lot on the on the parts of the war that do not get much mention. And really, in discussions on World War II, China largely gets forgotten really after 37. China is kind of just forgotten. Right, it's mentioned that Japan invaded China in 1937, and then it's like never mentioned again outside of like squabbling between communist China and nationalist China, right? And then even then, it's very little. Like they don't even talk about that until really 1945 when the war is over. and then the Chinese Civil War begins. It's really only when China gets mentioned again in this time period. So I do really like that they are showing, at least for now, because eventually they did stop showing the African campaign in the World War One series. Of course, that could and the Pacific. Now that just could have been because there was nothing there. I I don't know, I kind of feel like there's probably some things maybe they just felt there wasn't enough to even warrant a offhanded mention. But at least for now, they're showing the battles happening in China, which I appreciate.
In spite of the Chinese advances made all across the country the past few weeks, Chiang Kai-shek's offensive has mainly turned into a stalemate. But there's more going on behind the scenes in China this week. Okay, Wang Jingwei had served as Chinese prime minister in the early 1930s, despite the fact that he and nationalist leader Chiang Kai-shek disliked and distrusted each other. Wang left his post after nearly being assassinated. Since the war with Japan began in 1937, he has been extremely pessimistic about China's ability to win a military victory. And the idea of China being destroyed by the Japanese or the establishment of a communist China are anathema for him. And he thinks that a just peace with Japan is not only possible, but the only real positive outcome for China, since then Asia can resist the Western powers, whom he believes to be the real enemy. He also thinks Chiang Kai-shek has betrayed the nationalist cause by allying with the communists to fight the Japanese as a union, as they are doing now. But just negotiating with the enemy had gotten Wang kicked out of the Nationalist Party a year ago this week, on January 1st, 1939. Then, during the spring, he'd wangled a trip to Tokyo for more talks, but that was a disaster.
Wangled? Hold on.
During the spring, he'd wangled a trip to
Wangled. I don't think I've ever heard that word used in a sentence.
Tokyo for more talks, but that was a disaster. The Japanese made it clear that a regime run by him would be only one of many separate Chinese regional puppet regimes under Japanese control. The Japanese would demand economic and military control of China as well. However, with Japanese military defeats after the summer showing that China wasn't going to go down as easily as the Japanese had thought, Wang was looking more and more attractive as the year reached its conclusion. And after November and December negotiations, an agreement is signed this week on the 30th to create a reorganized nationalist government with its capital at Nanjing and led by Wang Jingwei. This secret treaty is very one-sided and has all kinds of concessions like with coal and iron for the Japanese. And northern China, which is now under a provisional puppet government under Wang Kemin, is still to be kept separate. Well, Gao Zhongwu, who's also been trying to negotiate peace and is now slated to serve as vice foreign minister under Wang, manages to photograph the treaty and get away with a copy.
Ooh, what a mad lad. What a mad lad.
Disillusioned by the Japanese going back on all they'd earlier promised, he makes the terms of the treaty public, terms that include the Japanese still keeping troops and advisors all over China. And this is a big propaganda coup for Chiang Kai-shek. He can use this secret treaty to show that Japan has no interest in a genuine partnership, just a master puppet relationship. And since Chiang is the real prize for the Japanese, they do not send an ambassador to Nanjing as Wang starts building his government, because that would imply official diplomatic recognition. Wang is not the only one, though, who thinks that his country cannot defeat a currently invading power. Max Hastings writes, "The Finnish government never deluded itself that the nation could inflict absolute defeat on the Russians. It aspired only to make the price of fulfilling Stalin's ambitions unacceptably high. This strategy was doomed, however, against an enemy indifferent to human sacrifice." I
didn't want to be the one to say it, but yeah, I was gonna say, Stalin, Mr. Stalin, Mr. Bigger, bushier mustache man. I don't think he really cares about the human lives.
The fighting in Finland at Suomussalmi last week. The Russian 163rd Division that had been surrounded and cut off was not even really a fighting force anymore. The 44th Division was supposed to move in and save them at the end of last week, but they ended up not trying. The order was canceled.
They did, like, okay, they're... I was kind of expecting they were coming to help, but couldn't push through the Finns. No, they just didn't try. Okay.
Now, 2 Finnish battalions ski over the ice to where the 44th is on the Räte Road.
That goes so hard. 2 Finnish divisions ski over the ice, surround the enemy, to flank the enemy. Like, why are you fighting this war, Russia? You got them skiing to fight you.
Road, mainly positioned on a 5-mile stretch of the road, but with platoons every 1/8 of a mile securing it all the way back to the Russian border. Tanks patrol between the platoons. The Finns attack the head of the whole column, which causes the Russians to dig in, as the Finns had planned, which gives the Finns time to regroup all the Suomussalmi forces for a new attack. On New Year's Day, that attack begins. They cut the road and fortify the breaking point, and then attack the Russian columns pretty much only hand-to-hand. So the Russians can't use heavy artillery, and all the horse-drawn units add to the traffic chaos on the road. The tanks aren't any real help either, especially once the road is cut and mined. The Finns even use the tanks as cover. Soviet air power watches helplessly from above, since any attack would also be an attack against its own.
Whoever's commanding these Finnish divisions and whatnot, whoever is planning this stuff, fucking genius. They know their strengths and they are utilizing them so well. God.
The Soviet troops aren't even really in any condition to fight by this point, and many have reached the edges of starvation. General Vinogradov refuses to order the retreat, though, since he himself has not received higher orders to do so, but finally does on the 6th, so tomorrow. This is the men's situation by then. The men no longer had the strength or spirit to break through. They panicked and ran, or were shot down in shelters and dugouts without an attempt to escape. It was later learned that the Soviet troops had been without food for 5 days in temperatures of 30 to 40 degrees below zero. A lot of quotes today. Max Hastings writes of Karl Maidans, a Life magazine photographer, who describes a battle scene like this. The Russian dead spotted the ice crust. They lay lonely and twisted in their heavy trench coats and formless felt boots, their faces yellowed, eyelashes white with a tinge of frost. The forest was strewn with weapons and pictures and letters. Here were the bodies of dead tanks with blown treads, dead carts, dead horses, and dead men, blocking the road and defiling the snow under the old black pines. Most of the 44th Division are killed or freeze to death, but 1,300 become POWs. A captured Russian colonel has this to say: "For whom was this war worthwhile? And for what? We had no idea of a cause. What can we possibly offer you Finns that you don't already have? The Finnish worker is better dressed than the Russian communist official." The Finns have captured quite a booty by now. From just the 44th, they get 43 tanks, 200 trucks, 100 machine guns, 6,000 rifles, over 1,000 horses, 46 artillery pieces, and 29 anti-tank guns. That's not even counting all the stuff from the 163rd. Hand in hand with that, the main problem for the Russians along the border was supplies. When they advanced, they found literally nothing, no food or shelter that they could use, and their supplies from the Murmansk Railroad did not regularly arrive. Actually, had the Finns cut the railroad, all of the Russians north of Lake Ladoga would have likely starved to death or eaten each other after the horses were gone. But this the Finns could not accomplish. So the Russians got food. Sometimes. But the coldest part of the winter is yet to arrive. In case you wonder, after the actions on the Räte Road, Vinogradov and the other leaders of the 44th Division are executed. On New Year's Eve, the German General Staff evaluates the Red Army's Finland performance. In quantity, it was fine, but organization, equipment, and means of leadership unsatisfactory, communication system bad, transportation bad, fighting qualities of the troops in heavy fighting dubious. The Russian mass is no match for an army with modern equipment and superior leadership. Adolf Hitler has a New Year message to the German people. The Jewish capitalistic world will not survive the 20th century. During the first week of the new year, up to 70 people starved to death in just Warsaw. Also, the curfew there for Jews is 8 p.m., and if you break that, even with a pass, you are liable to be shot.
What? Okay, that's for real. For one, curfew at 8 p.m. is fucked up. So, of course, for an authoritarian state trying to implement control a minority population, implementing curfew makes sense because, of course, the oppressed are going to find a way to fight back against their oppressor, and of course, they're going to do it at night. So, it doesn't. But shooting them for, like, okay, what? Hold on. I want to know. How many. I wonder if this is even a statistic that is possible to quantify. How many Jews were shot if they were like out past curfew but heading home, like they were near their home at like 8:01, or how many were shot at say like 7:58, 7:59, but the German officials were like, no, 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 it's 8. I'm curious if there is a notable. I sincerely doubt that there is that statistic even quantifiable. I doubt it can be known. But the part of my mind that is more morbidly curious about oppression, um, wants to know if it was like how significant of a number that would have been. I mean, even just one person is too many, but I don't know. I'm just kind of curious about that fucked up statistic.
This week, cattle trucks, sealed cattle trucks, arrived there carrying 1,000 POWs who have been locked in them for 13 days and sent from East Prussia. When they are opened, 211 men have frozen to death. Several more die within hours of their arrival. Some have been driven insane by the ordeal.
Yeah.
And here is a German note to end the week. Yesterday, the 4th, Hermann Goering is given overall control of the German war industry. And so the first week of 1940 comes to an end, though the suffering in Poland does not, with devastating losses for the Red Army in the Finnish forests, a Japanese counterattack in China, and a collaborationist government being revealed before it exists there. But Wang Jingwei is to set up that government to collaborate with the Japanese. Chiang Kai-shek is currently collaborating with the Chinese communists to fight the Japanese. But what of the Chinese people? The regular average people, the peasants, what do they get? Well, they get the bloody horrors of modern war visited upon them day after day and year after year. Happy New Year. And in all...
Thanks. No, thank you. Not Happy New Year. But that was week 19 of World War II, January 5th, 1940. The Finns strike again and Japan strikes back. I'm gonna fucking get rid of this shit. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.